Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Well, the Tasmanian government says borders will remain shut to New South Wales and Queensland as both states record new coronavirus infections. Tasmania is strengthening its fight to prevent cases coming to the island, with check-in now mandatory at every business you enter from next week.
A simple click of a button on your phone to help keep the state safe. From next week, Tasmanians will have to check in at businesses, even if they spend fewer than 15 minutes there.
From Wednesday next week, if you go into a premise, use the Check-in Tas app so that we know where you've been.
And a major update to the app.
To enable people to check in where there is a mobile phone black spot, and when they get in their car and travel on and get back into range, it sends the information through.
Earlier this week, Public Health mandated patrons at large events now need to wear masks. Junction Arts Festival now preparing ahead of its September event.
Because, as we all know, they can change on a daily basis. We will be ready, whatever's required of us, and that could be, only with a night's notice.
And overnight, New South Wales recorded 31 new cases of coronavirus, around a dozen of them infectious while in the community. The New South Wales Premier warning infections will rise.
So we're anticipating that there could be an increase in numbers over the next few days, and then hopefully early next week we should see the impacts of the lockdown really turning and having a positive impact.
Brisbane's lockdown has been extended for another 24 hours as contact tracers scramble to get on top of 2 new cases.
We will come back early tomorrow morning once our contact tracers get on top of this, and we'll look at the case numbers overnight.
Late this afternoon, a man on the Sunshine Coast tested positive for the virus, but the region will come out of lockdown tonight, the man having had little contact with the community. But despite lockdowns lifting in parts of Queensland, Tasmania is in no rush to lift its border restrictions.
We would look to Monday as the earliest date to once again enable people who've been in those southeast Queensland and the area up around Townsville coming to Tasmania.
Restrictions remain in place for travellers arriving from the Northern Territory and Western Australia. Elizabeth O'Neill, 7 Tasmania News.
Turning to other local news now, and hundreds of Denali residents who lost property in the devastating 2013 bushfires could soon receive compensation. In a history-making decision, the Supreme Court found a local landowner breached duty of care by failing to properly extinguish a campfire which contributed to the blazes.
A devastating time for a tight-knit community. Terrifying bushfires ripping through Denali in 2013, ravaging homes and businesses. Today, a pathway to compensation for nearly 400 residents was delivered.
It follows that the first defendant is liable to the test case plaintiff for damages for negligence and for private nuisance.
Handing down his judgment in one of the biggest civil cases in Tasmanian history, Justice Escourt found Melissa Jane Barrett breached her duty of care by lighting a fire in a tree stump on her property in December 2012. He also found she was negligent for failing to extinguish it, and also failing to adequately respond to observations of steam coming from the area. The judge finding a smouldering burn continued into the stump through the root system, which spread to nearby grass on January 3, a hot and windy day. In the trial, Ms. Barrett claimed it was a different blaze that would go on to devastate Denali. Both Ms. Barrett and her partner, who settled with plaintiffs in April, sharing liability.
I have limited the liability for loss and damage claimed by the plaintiffs as to 80% in the case of Ms. Barrett and as to 20% in the case of Mr. Robinson.
The case uniquely not a class action, with one plaintiff, a woman named Sonia Daly, used as a test case, the court valuing her individual losses at $300,000.
Produce a binding ruling that can be then applied arithmetically to the assessed losses of the remaining 399 plaintiffs.
Both parties will return to the Supreme Court later this month for another hearing. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
A second person has been arrested in connection with an alleged car theft in West Launceston last month. The 25-year-old man from Mayfield has been charged with aggravated armed robbery and carjacking. His alleged accomplice, a 27-year-old woman, remains in custody. Police say on June 15 the pair threatened 2 male youths with a firearm before fleeing in their white Commodore. A Tasmanian State League player has walked free from court after being convicted of assault after an alcohol-fuelled fight outside a nightclub. Dakota Bannister, who plays for North Launceston, received a 9-month suspended sentence for knocking out a security guard outside Bakers Lane and striking 2 other men in the Launceston CBD late at night in December 2019. Magistrate Sharon Cure describing sentencing as a difficult decision, weighing up efforts Bannister had made to improve his life after an impoverished childhood and the need to deter other young men from similar behaviour. Bannister will be required to complete 140 hours of community service. And a former Tasmanian senator and his wife have each been ordered to pay nearly $40,000 after being found guilty of trafficking abalone. Shane Murphy and Ruar Lu today fronted a judge for sentencing and were slapped with a $6,000 fine and $33,000 special penalty. The pair attempted to traffic 186 abalone with a value of more than $3,000. Independent MP Christy Johnston has added her voice to calls for David Obyrne to permanently stand down amid sexual harassment allegations. She says the silence from the Labor Party has been deafening, calling on his colleagues to condemn his behaviour.
Speaking out in support, Christy Johnston, a close friend of the woman accusing David Obyrne of sexual harassment.
I want to reaffirm my support and belief in the complainant. I believe the allegations to be true at the time and I continue to do so now.
Now calling on him to resign.
Clearly he's admitted the conduct. His conduct is not acceptable by anybody's standard. He is not a fit and proper person to be in Parliament.
Urging Labor MPs to speak up if he's not willing to stand down. Ella Haddad, the only member of the state party to speak out today, saying the complainant is also a close friend of hers. In a statement, she said, "She specifically asked me not to share the information or act in any way, which I respected, and I have done the right thing to support my friend." The matter is being investigated within the party.
Part of that internal process is respecting confidentiality and not commenting on it. And I intend to respect that process.
But advocates say broader change is needed.
There's a real opportunity here for the Labor Party to be showing leadership in responding to an accusation or an allegation of this nature.
There's lots of unknowns for victims about if they do speak up, where it's going to go, how it's going to be managed, and who else is going to know about it.
Now hoping to find some resolution before Parliament returns, as a cloud hangs over the party's leadership.
And I think if you look at what's occurred since we've returned to the Parliament in the last couple of weeks, it would be difficult to describe Labor as being a functioning opposition at the moment.
Meg Sides, 7 Tasmania News.
A 26-year-old motorcyclist has sustained serious injuries following a crash at Mornington this afternoon. Police say the rider was travelling along Flagstaff Gully Link Road around 1:30 when a van turned in front of his bike. The area was closed off to traffic for almost 2 hours. The driver of the van was uninjured. Investigations are continuing. Anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. A prize designed to unearth Tasmania's budding artists is officially open for entries. The Henry Jones Art Prize offers $20,000 to locals in the early stages of their careers. And after the award was cancelled by COVID last year, organisers are expecting a flood of entries.
It's basically an opportunity for them to put their best work forward. There is no entry fee, no theme. So no reason for them not to enter.
It gives artists the opportunity, young emerging artists the opportunity, to invest in better materials, in processes, in techniques.
Entries for the prize are open until September 19, with the top award to be handed out in November. A Tasmanian wood processor has been given a $6 million grant to make decking material out of old milk bottles. It's one of 3 companies in the state given grants to modernise recycling facilities and create products from used plastics.
Once destined for landfill, old milk bottles are now becoming part of decks across the country.
The advantages are that you don't have to actually oil it every summer. So you just need to wash it down, keep it clean, it stays stable, and it's quick and easy to install.
With wood plastic composites growing in popularity, Timberlink is set to create the first manufacturing facility in Tasmania. This product to be created from old bottles and sawdust.
We're not recycling material, we're taking recycled components and we're going to make an upcycled product that is of high value.
Both of these resources, which we once would have seen as waste, we're now identifying and recognising as resources that we can create really high value products.
Timberlink, one of 3 companies allocated grants as part of the Recycling Modernisation Fund. The money is also set to help fund remoulding of single-use plastics and recycling of aquaculture materials.
A total of, at their full capacity, 15,000 tonnes a year of waste plastic being reprocessed.
With Australia recently banning the export of mixed plastics, it's hoped these projects can highlight a way for manufacturing industries to find a solution to our waste on home soil, while still creating a high-value product.
We need to build the capacity of Australian businesses and waste management systems to do more of that reprocessing, recycling and value-adding here in Australia.
Hoping to create premium products and lift our game on recycling. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
A specialised service providing help to those impacted by cancer has marked its 3rd birthday. The Southern Support Centre celebrated the milestone, an especially moving event following a tough year of COVID closures. Survivor John Dobson is now cancer-free and says the facility provides important resources.
I'd urge you all men to come along and it costs nothing, just a couple of hours a month, and listen to the other sufferers or people that have recovered stories, that people do recover from it.
Over the last 3 years, 5,400 occasions of support have come out of this centre. So demand is growing. We knew we had the right model. We knew we could provide the right type of care for people in the south of the state.
The hub is one of only 2 in the country, the other being in Launceston. Dozens of Launceston residents have taken the pledge to become Australian citizens. For one new Aussie, the ceremony was particularly special after moving here from Taiwan 8 years ago with his partner. A trip to visit a sick relative saw Stephen struggle to get a flight back to Tasmania.
Because our flight already cancelled in about more than 6 or 7 times, and until this April, and we come back to Australia, so it's quite exciting for us.
It's a very exciting day for us, with 63 people becoming new citizens of this beautiful city of Launceston, and those 63 people are coming from 21 different countries.
Some of the countries included Vietnam, Afghanistan, Sudan, France and Canada.
TSL now, Lauderdale has declared next year's pre-season will be a lot tougher as clubs struggled to keep pace with the ladder leaders. The Southern Bombers host Launceston at Lauderdale tomorrow, the site of the biggest boil-over of 2020.
The playbook was ripped apart in round 10 last year when Lauderdale upset the eventual premier by an astounding 10 goals.
I'll take a little bit out of that in terms of knowing how well we can play against opposition at our home ground, but look, I think they're probably a little bit better than they were this time last year.
Despite the glory of that overcast day, Dan Willing concedes the pre-season following wasn't where it needed to be.
Definitely from our point of view, it's no doubt that we're nowhere near fit enough for state league standards. That's obvious, and we've spoken about that as a group, and we're clear on that. Now pre-season will be much tougher.
For the Blues, it turned out to be the loss they needed to have.
And that really held us in good stead. It allowed us to refine a couple of things that we'd moved away from, and from that point, we didn't lose a game for the remainder of last season.
Launceston showed plenty of fight on the weekend against Clarence, although no charges came from the fiery final term of the game. But the Blues were caught up in the strictly enforced but rarely seen new stand rule. Mitch Thorpe is a fan of the man-on-the-mark anchor.
Fantastic. It gives players like Dylan Riley an opportunity to compete one-on-one as opposed to a number of players rolling back in front of him.
Michael Musica is back for the Blues, Tyler Martin in for the Southern Bombers. Overseas, Stuart McSwain has made a habit of smashing records. He's now knocked off Craig Mottram's 16-year-old record in the mile, ironically on the same track in Norway.
But watch the clock, this is so quick.
3:48.37.
It's also the fastest mile in the world since 2014. McSwain has qualified for 3 distances at the Tokyo Games. How much better can he get? And Glenorchy Knights come into a blockbuster against South Hobart off an easy win over Riverside. Coming off a weaker opponent doesn't affect preparation, according to the Knights coach.
We try to drive pretty decent standards, and we do really analyse performance rather than result. And I think because we do those things, you can't get away with sweeping things under the carpet.
Glenorchy is undefeated this season. The game against South is at Darcy Street tomorrow. And with the Jack Jumpers signing their first player, Sam McDaniel, yesterday, tonight's Friday Flashback is to a famous win by his dad, Wayne, and the Tassie Devils back in 1994. A sold-out Derwent Entertainment Centre went off its head when the Devils held on at the buzzer to beat the Perth Wildcats by a point. Having managed just 1 win in the previous 13 games, many questioned how hard the Devils would work. But their fatigued yet faithful fans would be rewarded in one of the NBL's all-time classics.
Perry for 3, this is a big shot. A very big shot to put the Devils 4 points in front.
And here's Wayne McDaniel, whose son Sam yesterday became the first Jack Jumpers player signed. He looked just as chuffed about the charging foul, gifting the Devils the ball. A nervous Bill Tomlinson could only watch on because the final minutes had eardrums bursting.
2 points on the drive. Bonus to come.
I just lost my hearing aid.
The bonus shot went in, a 6-point lead, but the Devils were jumpy in front of the hoop, letting the Wildcats wear down the home side, levelling the score with a minute to go to deathly silence. Calvin Talford would win the foul, missing the chance to hit the lead.
Oh, come on, guys. Make a name for yourself, son.
The second was good. But it all came down to Perth's final charge.
A basket will win this for the Perth Wildcats. A basket from anywhere.
Ricky will take the drive.
Race for the drive, misses, and the game is over. I think the Devils have won. I think that doesn't count. No, the Devils win by a point.
A classic, sending the crowd into raptures. It would be the second and final win of season 1994. As for Wayne McDaniel, he'd retire at season's end, take up music, and, in quite a twist, even performed at the International Comedy Festival.
He plays the part of Jeff, stranded on a tropical island with 5 gorgeous women, who also happen to be witches.
But the real magic was that night at the deck, a game which would become a high point of the Devils' existence.
Good evening. Hobart and Devonport 14 degrees today, Launceston and Burnie 15. Friendly Beaches our high, 17 degrees there. Smithton, St Helens, Strawn and Flinders Island all 16. Grove 15. King Island and Low Head 14. Bushy Park 9 and Lyawini 5 to 7. Most of Tasmania touched by cloud today. Some clear skies though over the northeast of the state. A frontal cloud band stretches back from Tasmania to southwest WA. A trough of low pressure has the cloud over the eastern seaboard. Tomorrow all the systems will congregate over our region, a front to the east, a low to the west. The high dominates most of the mainland. Winds northeast northwesterly at 15 to 25 knots before easing and tending more northerly later. Swells to 4 metres in western waters. Strong wind warning for waters between Stanley and the northern point of Flinders Island. We have a flood watch too for northern Tasmania. Hobart 14 and mostly sunny, just 10 for Maydena with a shower. Oatlands a shower, 3 overnight, 9 the top tomorrow. Launceston a high of 11 degrees with showers. Devonport the same, -1 for Lyawini. A bit of snow overnight, 5 the top tomorrow. For Burnie, showers and 11, 12 for Strawn. Marrawar showers, 11 degrees. St Helens expecting a top tomorrow of 13 with a shower or 2. Swansea the same and 13 as well for Orford. On Sunday, coastal showers over the north, clearing in the afternoon and developing over the south and west later in the day. Monday, fine and mostly cloudy, possible showers over the west and south, a shower over the west, south and southeast on Tuesday, mainly during the morning. Mostly sunny in Perth tomorrow, a cold showery day in Adelaide, just 13. Showers forecast for Melbourne, 11 degrees, but sunny in Sydney, rain at times in Brisbane. Cloudy at the moment, 12 degrees in Hobart, Launceston 12 as well, and Devonport mostly cloudy and 13. Tom Johnson asked me to tell you, Kim, that the footy's on tonight after Better Homes and Gardens, where Danielle is making a cubby house. Thought you need to know.
And that is all your news for this Friday. Thanks for your company tonight. You can join Lou and the team at 6 over the weekend. See you again on Monday. Good night.